Riley Crossman from West Virginia was a beautiful young lady. Riley was a typical adolescent with a drama-filled attitude, but she was loved for her infectious laugh. She tried to maintain everyone's happiness with a happy life. She did not know what life had planned for her. In 2019, Riley was dating Hayden, a friend of hers. Riley's parents loved him that she had found such a kind child. Riley's parents were divorced, and though she visited both parents occasionally, she stayed at her mother's house and attended school. She lived with her mother and her boyfriend, Andy Macaulay. The 15-year-old appeared to have a happy life. Riley arrived home from school on May 7th of 2019 at about 3:30 in the afternoon. She observed her mother dozing off on the sofa. Chantel, Riley's mother, had to work 2 jobs to support the family. Chantel was not feeling good that day. She quit her first job early to get some rest before beginning the next one. Riley spent the evening with her grandmother after her mother left for work. She then went to her room and remained there. Around 10 p.m., Chantel arrived home and noticed that Riley's door was shut. Chantel assumed that she was busy or went right to bed. Chantel was not feeling well and therefore only wanted a restful night's sleep. She had no idea that that night would be her final peaceful slumber. Chantel got ready for work the following morning. Riley's door was still shut. Riley was not there when she went to check on her. Now, it wasn't strange for Riley to leave early for school. Before class, she liked to hang out with her friends. Riley's boyfriend, Hayden, was scheduled to attend a school excursion. Chantel assumed that Riley was also a part there. Riley had not returned home as of 3:30 in the afternoon when Chantel's mother called to let her know. Chantel attempted to reach Riley out of worry and anger. Yet her calls went to voicemail and her messages remained unanswered. The school teacher was contacted by Chantel after she confirmed Riley's absence. Chantel was quite concerned. Nobody knew anything about her, and she was unable to contact her daughter. As Hayden returned from his field trip, she waited for him in the school's parking lot. She was informed by him that Riley had not been seen all day. After that, Chantel returned home to see if Riley was still there. She had a secret wish that her daughter had opted out of school that day due to some rebellious teen whim. Chantel was worried and frightened when she couldn't find her there. Her baby child was in jeopardy and she knew something was wrong. Chantel reported a missing person by calling 911. She also asked her ex-husband to assist in finding Riley. At that time, she was being looked for by the police, her family, and volunteers. They investigated the neighborhood, community centers, parks, and schools. There was no sign of her anywhere. Some believed that Riley had escaped by running. Chantel, though, was certain that her daughter would never act in such a way. Riley had a lovely family, amazing friends, and a loving partner, so the likelihood of her leaving was essentially zero. To follow Riley's trail, the police got in touch with her friends. It turns out that Riley was conversing with her friends until midnight. She then called Hayden at around 5:30 in the morning, but he didn't answer because he was asleep. She then went silent, and none of her friends saw or spoke to her after that. Riley's room was the first place the police looked for leads, and her room was quite expressive. Riley's glasses and wallet were discovered by the police on her bedside table. So without any money or glasses, where could she go? After that, the cops discovered bloodstains on her pillow and bedclothes. The bloodstains were intermingled with saliva, according to additional testing. Riley was kidnapped, and the police had no doubts about it. They were still unsure of her location and her kidnapper though. The Berkeley County Police discovered a female body that was badly deteriorated close to Tuscarora Pike, and it was a scary sight. Riley was recognized by Chantel based on her clothing, and the autopsy report supported this. Unfortunately, the pathologist was unable to determine the cause of death or whether or not she had been sexually abused because of how badly decomposed the body was. Her body's condition, however, was evidence of a violent crime. Riley was discovered in a garbage bag. She was covered in drywall mud-like white, chalky stuff. She had a pair of shorts undone and unzipped underneath her jeans. Her panties were shredded and she wore no bra. She also had only one pair of untied shoes. The other one was gone. Riley's death was thought to have been a homicide, and therefore the police started looking for the murderer. The entire family was distraught. They never imagined having to endure something so terrible. They were much more frightened since they didn't know who would do such a horrible murder. Riley's mother, grandmother, father, and Andy, her mother's boyfriend, were all questioned by the police. As they got started with their inquiry, the accounts and alibis were checked. However, one person had a different account. A neighbor had spotted a green truck in the Crossman's driveway on the day that Riley vanished. It stuck out to him because Chantel was at work and Andy did not have a license. Whose truck was that then? When Riley went missing, the police questioned Chantel about any odd things that she may have seen. When she notified Andy that Riley was missing, she did not think much of it at the time. But she later told the police that he reacted oddly. He seemed more nervous than concerned. She observed him rushing inside, grabbing something, and leaving. Later on, he stated that he had gone looking for Riley. But when Chantel arrived home from a long search, she found Andy faking napping on the couch. It seems as though he never looked for Riley. After speaking with Andy, the police realized that something was not right. On May 8th of 2019, Andy was questioned by the police regarding his location. He initially asserted that he spent the entire day at work. His co-workers, however, attested to the fact that he left in the interim for at least 5 hours. As Andy was questioned by the police once more, he repeatedly altered his account. First, he claimed that he afterward went home to get drugs for himself and his colleague. Yet he had no other explanation, and his colleague was adamant that Andy had met a girl. The contradictory nature of the stories did not benefit Andy. Plus, more substantial pieces of proof came along later. The green truck belonged to Andy's co-worker, the police discovered. When the authorities searched this truck with a warrant, they discovered disturbing evidence. The drywall mud discovered on Riley was also present on the back of the truck bed. Cadaver dogs were also employed by the police to verify the match. 2 sheet metal screws were found at Riley's body's crime scene. These building screws were special. The truck had similar screws. The cops found Andy driving the vehicle to various sites near the crime scene on the security footage. Andy's assertions concerning cocaine and narcotics at home are unsupported by the evidence. Andy's phone records revealed disturbing facts to the police. Andy called a co-worker for a temporary place the day that Riley was murdered, but they clashed. Why did he ask a foe for help? When the cops displayed the mountain of evidence against him, Andy began rambling off improbable tales. Andrew said that he was ill and needed additional medication. But when he went to grab them, he noticed a headlight-on police car that was parked nearby. Even though he ran away from the situation, he wanted to keep his family safe by avoiding it for a while. However, the police checked and verified that on May 8th of 2019, there were no troops stationed in that region. They were aware that Andy was telling lies and that Riley was involved. Yet after that, he remained silent. After compiling sufficient evidence, the police detained Andy on suspicion of Riley Crossman's first-degree murder, concealing a body, and child abuse. 28 months after Riley's terrible murder, in September of 2021, the eagerly awaited case went to trial. Around 239 pieces of circumstantial or other evidence were offered by the prosecution. Also, roughly 25 witnesses testified against Andy. Hayden's testimony stood out among the rest. Riley texted Hayden the night that she vanished to say that she was afraid because Andy was in her room. In actuality, Andy had visited her room several times that evening. The defense asserted that Andy was under the influence of drugs. He attempted to abuse Riley since his senses and judgment were fogged. He smothered her with a pillow to prevent her from speaking. The defense argues that most of the evidence offered is circumstantial. Other than the fact that Andy was high on drugs, there didn't seem to be a motive. Andy McCauley was convicted on all charges after a lengthy jury deliberation. The hearing may have granted Andy parole after 15 years. Riley's family, however, objected, pointing out that Riley was just 15 when she passed away. The family's cries were ultimately heard. Andy received 2 life sentences from the judge, with no chance of release. We can only hope that Riley's family can find some measure of peace and closure. That's all for the video today. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel